The colony of Zerath 5 was quiet that morning, bathed in the soft light of the twin suns. Dust swirled gently across the flat plains outside the settlement, and the hum of machinery echoed faintly through the air. Elias Kane walked along the narrow dirt path that led to the storage domes, his boots stirring small clouds behind him. At 22, he had the lean strength of a man used to long hours and hard work, yet his eyes held a softness that made people trust him instantly. Elias's job was simple but vital. He managed the food and supply stores for the small human settlement. Supplies were always scarce on this frontier world, and careful planning often meant the difference between survival and hunger. But even amidst the monotony of ration lists and inventory checks, Elias had an adventurous heart. He liked to wander outside the settlement boundaries, exploring the red-brown plains that stretched toward the horizon. It was during one of these walks that he first saw them. At first he thought they were mirages. Two figures crouched near a ridge moved with strange, delicate grace. Their skin shimmered faintly under the sunlight, almost as if dust had settled in a rainbow pattern. As he drew closer, he noticed their forms, tall and slender with elongated limbs and wide, intelligent eyes that seemed to study everything. They were unlike any creature he had ever seen. Elias froze, unsure whether to call out or retreat. "Please, help," a soft voice said, almost a whisper in the wind. Elias's heart skipped a beat. The voice was melodic, unlike anything from Earth. He stepped forward cautiously, holding up his hands in peace. I'm human. Are you hurt?" The taller of the two, he would later know her as Lyra, nodded slightly. "We are far from home. We need food, water." Her voice was careful, measured, but full of urgency. Elias glanced around. There were no other humans nearby, only the endless plains. Without hesitation, he removed the small pack from his shoulder and set it down. "I have rations. Enough for a few days. You can share." The sisters approached slowly, eyes wide with curiosity and caution. The smaller one, Celine, reached out to take a pack. Her fingers were long and elegant, almost fragile-looking. Elias noticed how delicate they were, yet there was a quiet strength in their movements. "Thank you," Lyra said. The words seemed to carry weight far beyond its simple sound. Elias only nodded, feeling strangely moved by their presence. Over the next hour, he helped them unpack and organize the food. They ate slowly, unfamiliar with Earth-style rations but grateful for every bite. Elias asked them questions, but communication was difficult. Their language was musical, full of tones and rises that his ears could barely catch. Still, he understood the universal expressions of need and gratitude. Night fell quickly on Zerath 5, and the twin moons rose, casting silver shadows across the plains. Elias could not leave them outside in the cold. He led them to an unused storage dome, its walls lined with empty crates and dust. "You can stay here tonight," he said. "It's safe." Lyra and Celine exchanged a glance, a silent conversation that Elias could not understand, but the result was clear. They nodded and entered the dome. For the first time they smiled, a sight so rare and beautiful that it stayed in Elias's mind. Over the next few days, Elias visited them frequently. He brought clean water, extra rations, and blankets he had salvaged from old shipments. Slowly, he began to learn small things about their world. They gestured to the stars, pointing toward distant constellations, and spoke words he could not understand. Still, Elias felt the depth of their intelligence. They were no ordinary beings. They had knowledge and awareness far beyond what humans could expect. One evening, as the twin suns set in brilliant shades of orange and purple, Elias sat with them outside the dome. The wind carried the smell of metallic dust and the faint tang of alien flora that had drifted from the plains. Lyra tilted her head, studying him. Then, in a voice that seemed closer to a whisper of the wind than speech, she said a word Elias could barely catch. "Promise." Elias blinked. "Promise what?" he asked. She did not answer with words. Instead, she reached out and touched his hand lightly. The contact was fleeting, yet it carried a warmth and weight that Elias could feel in his chest. Though he did not understand her language, he sensed the meaning clearly. She would not forget this kindness. Days later, a signal from her people reached the settlement. Their rescue team had arrived. Lyra and Celine were going home. The sisters looked at Elias, eyes filled with gratitude and an unspoken message he could not translate. Elias tried to find words to say goodbye, but none seemed enough. He had saved them, yes, but in return, They had touched something deep within him, a sense of wonder, of connection, and of the responsibility that comes with being human. The sisters climbed aboard their sleek spacecraft, a vessel that shimmered like liquid metal in the twilight. Before leaving, they turned back one last time. Lyra raised a hand and Celine mirrored the gesture. Their eyes held a silent promise, a memory that would last far longer than the days they had spent together. As the ship rose into the sky, Elias felt a strange mix of sorrow and hope. He returned to his quarters thinking of the sisters and their distant world. He had helped them survive, yes, but somehow he knew this encounter was not the end. In their culture, kindness was remembered. It was sacred. And somewhere, far beyond the reaches of Zareth 5, the sisters remembered him. That night, Elias looked out at the stars, wondering if he would ever see them again. The wind whispered through the plains, carrying a faint melody that seemed almost like their voices. He smiled to himself. Whatever the future held, he had done what a human could do best. He had chosen compassion. And sometimes, compassion has a way of echoing across the years, across worlds, and across species. The colony continued its quiet rhythm, oblivious to the small miracle that had occurred on its dusty plains. But Elias knew, and somewhere far away Lyra and Celine remembered as well. When years later, that memory would return in a way he could never have imagined. The twin suns of Zareth 5 rose slowly, casting long shadows over the colony. The plains shimmered in shades of red and gold as the day began. Elias Kane moved through the settlement with a quiet confidence. Years had passed since he first met the alien sisters, yet the memory of those delicate, shimmering beings remained vivid in his mind. Every night he thought of their wide, intelligent eyes and the way they had silently thanked him. Little did he know that their gratitude would carry far beyond the dusty plains of Zareth 5. The day of their departure had arrived. Their sleek spacecraft, almost invisible in the dim light, waited near the edge of the settlement. The colony gathered quietly, curious but cautious. Humans had seen alien ships before, but there was something different about this visit, something personal. Elias approached the landing site slowly, his heart heavy with unspoken emotions. Lyra and Celine stepped down from the ship, their elegant forms fully visible now. They had grown taller, their presence commanding yet gentle. Their skin still shimmered faintly, and their eyes, though still kind, held a deeper wisdom than Elias remembered. The sisters had changed, but the essence of who they were remained the same. Lyra spoke first. Her voice carried across the small crowd, musical and clear. "Elias Kane," she said, using his full name as if it held power. "We have not forgotten your kindness. We will never forget." Elias felt a lump in his throat. I only did what I could," he said quietly, unsure if words could express what he felt. Celine stepped closer, her gaze steady. "Your actions, they saved us. You gave us life when we had none. That is something our people do not forget." The crowd of humans watched in awe. Few had ever encountered aliens up close, and even fewer had formed such a personal connection. Whispers spread through the colony. This was not just a meeting. It was a moment of history. The sisters gestured toward their ship. Inside, strange devices hummed with energy and soft lights pulsed along the walls. Elias knew this was their way of showing that they were leaving, but also that their connection had not ended. Before entering the ship, Lyra turned to Elias. "A promise is not broken with time. Your kindness will be remembered, and one day it will be repaid." Elias tried to smile, though uncertainty weighed on him. I hope so," he said, feeling the strange mix of hope and fear that only great moments can bring. The sisters boarded their ship, and with a hum of energy it rose into the sky. The twin suns reflected off its metallic surface, creating a cascade of colors across the plains. As it climbed higher, Elias felt the echo of a bond that transcended words. The memory of their presence would linger with him, shaping the man he would become. In the weeks that followed, life returned to its usual rhythm in the colony. Elias continued his work managing supplies and helping settlers adapt to the harsh conditions of Zareth 5. Yet, the encounter had changed him. He found himself more patient, more empathetic, and more aware of the value of small acts of kindness. Even the simplest gesture, he realized, could ripple through time and space in ways humans could not fully understand. Over the years, Elias grew into a respected leader within the colony. His decisions were guided not by ambition or power, but by a quiet sense of responsibility and fairness. He taught younger settlers the importance of cooperation and understanding, emphasizing that human strength was not only in physical skill or technology, but in character. At night, Eliafte. Morning light poured through the windows of the colony's main hall, bathing the room in soft gold. The humans of Zareth 5 gathered again, eager to learn more from their unexpected guests. Over the last few days, Lyra and Celine had become a mystery and a marvel. Their shimmering clothes, their glowing symbols, their calm voices, all of it seemed like something out of a legend. Elias Kane sat at the edge of the hall, hands folded, watching them closely. The sisters moved gracefully, their long robes whispering over the polished floor. He had seen them as frightened travelers years ago. Now he saw them as leaders of a vast and unknown people. Dr. Avery Holt, the colony's governor, began the meeting. "We welcome our visitors again. Today they will explain why they have returned and what they ask of us." Lyra stood and looked across the room, her eyes bright like a blue-white star. "Thank you. We come in respect, not in force. We come to honor a bond," Celine added. "And we come to speak of something sacred in our tradition, the joining of paths." The hall grew silent. Even the low hum of the colony's machinery seemed to fade. Lyra gestured and a small sphere floated up from her palm. It expanded into a holographic display, stars, planets, and silver lines connecting them. "Our people travel far," she said. "We hold many alliances, but our truest bonds are rare. They are formed only with those who show us life when we are lost." The hologram shifted to an image of Zareth 5 as it had been 22 years earlier. A small settlement, a dust plane, and two faint figures crouched near a ridge. "Here," she said softly, "is where our paths began." Celine stepped forward. "In our culture, gratitude is more than words. It is action. It is memory. When someone gives life, we do not repay with coins or goods. We repay with connection. That connection lasts through time." The humans leaned forward, fascinated. Elias felt his heart beating faster. He had sensed this, but hearing it spoken so clearly was different. Lyra continued. "Elias Kane, when we were weak, you fed us, gave us water, gave us shelter. You gave us hope. You did not know us, yet you helped us. We were strangers, but you treated us as family. Our people call this the origin gift." Celine looked directly at him. "Because of you, we changed. We built a council of peace. We opened our worlds to humans. You became a quiet legend among our kind." Elias shifted in his seat, embarrassed. "I only did what anyone decent would have done," he said. Lyra smiled faintly. "Perhaps, but you were the one who did it. That is why we are here." The hologram vanished. Lyra and Celine stood before the colony with hands folded, their faces solemn but warm. "We have come," Lyra said, "to make the bond complete, to join our paths forever." A hush fell over the hall. Dr. Holt broke it. "Join paths? What do you mean?" Celine answered, "It is our highest form of alliance. We call it the twin bond. It is more than a treaty, more than trade. It is a promise that our lives and your lives are linked. One represents the other." Lyra turned to Elias. "In our tradition, the twin bond is sealed with a joining of families. We have chosen you, Elias Kane, as the symbol of that bond. This is why we returned." The room buzzed with whispers. Some were shocked, some curious, but none could deny the weight of the moment. Elias felt as if the air had thickened around him. He rose slowly. You came back across the stars." "For this?" Celine's eyes softened. "Yes, we came because you are our origin. We came because your kindness changed the course of our lives. Now we wish to join our futures to yours." After the meeting, Elias walked outside into the cool afternoon air. The plain stretched before him, the same dusty expanse he had known for decades. Yet everything felt different. The sisters followed him quietly, giving him space but staying close. Finally, Elias turned to them. "I don't understand everything. This twin bond, it sounds important, but it's so big. I'm just one man." Lyra approached slowly. "We know this is much to ask, but we do not choose at random. Our way is to honor the one who gave the origin gift. It is not about power or appearance. It is about meaning." Celine added, "Your life is not small, Elias Kane. It is a seed that grew across worlds." They stood together in silence, the wind stirring their robes. Elias looked at them. Still the same shimmering eyes, still the same quiet strength. They were not demanding. They were offering. That night, Elias could not sleep. He sat at his window watching the twin moons rise. His mind replayed the past. The first time he saw them on the ridge, their trembling hands taking his water bottle, their quiet smiles of gratitude. He remembered Lyra's faint whisper, "Promise," and her fingers brushing his hand. Now, after 22 years, they had come to fulfill that promise. But was he ready? He was no longer the young man he had been. He was a leader, yes, but also tired, full of doubts and memories. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply. He thought about what it meant to be human: compassion, courage, curiosity. Those qualities had guided him before. They had guided him to the sisters. Could they guide him again now? The next day, Lyra and Celine invited him aboard their ship. Its interior glowed softly, full of flowing shapes and gentle light. Instead of harsh angles, everything curved like water. The walls displayed shifting images and seas, stars, and gardens of crystal trees. "This is our world," Celine said. "Not our home world, but a part of it. We brought it to show you." They led him to a chamber at the heart of the ship. A pool of shimmering liquid lay at the center, surrounded by glowing stones. Above it, 3 small orbs floated, humming softly. "This is the chamber of memory," Lyra said. "Here we hold our sacred bonds. Here we remember all origin gifts." Elias felt the air vibrate lightly against his skin. The chamber seemed alive, aware. Selene touched the pool. "When we form the twin bond, it is not a trap or a contract. It is a promise and a partnership of equals. You will still be human. We will still be ourselves. But our lives will be linked. Our worlds will be linked." Elias looked at them, trying to take it all in. "And if I say no?" Lyra's expression was calm. "Then we leave with gratitude. Your kindness stands forever. We will still honor you and your people, but the chance for the bond will pass. In our way, it can be offered only once." For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the orbs. Then Elias asked, "Why me? You have power, knowledge, ships. You could choose anyone." Celine smiled gently. "Because no one else was there on the ridge 22 years ago. No one else offered food with no expectation. No one else reached across the distance," Lyra added. "And because we want to. We are not commanded. We are choosing." Elias felt a strange calm settle over him. It was all so vast, yet so simple. In the end, it came down to the same thing as before. 2 beings in need, 1 human choosing kindness. As the ship landed him back at the colony, Elias looked out at the plains once more. The red dust swirled in the wind just as it had 22 years ago. But now, instead of a quiet, unknown future, he saw a path stretching ahead. A path not just for himself, but for his people. The colonists watched him return, their faces full of questions. Rumors spread quickly. Some feared change. Others embraced it. But all knew something important was happening, something that might redefine humanity's place among the stars. Elias walked back to his quarters, his mind heavy but his heart strangely light. He had not decided yet, but he knew he would. The sisters had come back not to take, but to share. And whatever choice he made would echo far beyond him. That night, as the wind sang softly across the plains, Elias whispered to himself, "Sometimes one small act can change everything." Somewhere on their ship, Lyra and Celine stood together, looking out at the same moons. In their eyes was patience, respect, and the quiet certainty that their paths were still moving toward each other. The promise was alive. The moment of decision was near. The sky above Zerath 5 was a soft gray blue when the alert came. A massive object was moving through the upper atmosphere, its energy signature unlike anything the colony had recorded before. Radar and sensors struggled to keep up with its speed. For hours, the settlers gathered in open areas, pointing toward the sky as a silver line appeared like a falling star. Elias Kane stood on the same ridge where he had first met the alien sisters 22 years earlier. His hair was now streaked with gray and fine lines marked his face, but his eyes were still sharp and patient. As the ship descended, a familiar, almost forgotten feeling rose in his chest. The strange blend of curiosity and reverence he had felt as a young man. The vessel slowed and hovered above the plain. It was far larger than the craft that had taken Lyra and Celine away, Its surface shimmered like moving glass, reflecting the twin suns in 1,000 shifting colors. Energy arcs moved along its sides, and a low musical hum pulsed in the air. This was no simple transport. This was a flagship. The colony's communication officer sent a wideband greeting. Moments later, a soft but firm voice replied over the speakers. "We request landing near the southern fields. We come in peace. We come for Elias Kane." The settlers turned toward Elias, murmuring in wonder. Few could believe the message was real, yet Elias only exhaled slowly and began walking toward the landing site. He felt as if every step was guided by invisible hands, leading him toward a meeting long promised. When the ship finally touched the ground, its ramp unfolded like a ribbon of light. Two tall figures emerged, their presence silencing the crowd. Lyra and Celine had returned. The next morning, the colony on Zerath 5 woke to a strange stillness. People moved about their tasks, but their eyes often turned toward the alien ship resting at the edge of the settlement. The sisters had returned inside their vessel after their meeting, leaving the humans whispering and wondering. Elias Kane rose early. He walked out onto the dusty plain, letting the cool air clear his mind. His boots pressed old tracks into the earth, the same path he had walked for decades. But today felt heavier. He thought about his life. He had been a miner, a farmer, a rescuer, and finally a leader. He had made decisions for the colony before, but none like this. This was not only about trade or safety. It was about joining two worlds. He stopped near a rock and looked toward the alien ship. Its surface shimmered with soft blue light, changing with the wind. In the distance, the colony's towers caught the morning sun. For a moment, both human and alien structures stood together under the same sky, and Elias felt a quiet hope inside him. Inside the ship, Lyra and Celine waited. They stood in the chamber of memory again, looking at the pool of liquid light. Neither spoke. They could feel the tension outside, and yet they were patient. Their culture taught them that great bonds could not be rushed. Lyra closed her eyes. "He is thinking," Celine nodded. "He carries much. But he will understand." Lyra touched the pool lightly. A ripple of pale light spread across its surface. "Our people are watching from afar. They honor his freedom to choose. If he says no, we will leave with peace." Celine's face softened. "And if he says yes?" Lyra looked at her sister and smiled faintly. "Then our two paths become one." Elias returned to the colony hall after midday. The council members were waiting. Dr. Avery Holt, the governor, greeted him with concern. "You've been quiet," she said. "Have you decided?" "Not yet," Elias replied. "I want to speak to them again, but alone." Holt hesitated, then nodded. "Be careful. Everyone is watching." "I know," he said. "That's why I need to do this right." When Elias entered the alien ship, the air shifted around him, soft and almost warm. The corridor lit up as he walked. Lyra and Celine appeared at the far end waiting. "Thank you for coming," Lyra said. "We respect your time," Celine added. Elias took a breath. "I don't want to make a mistake. This twin bond you speak of, it's powerful, but it's also permanent. My people are nervous. Some think it's a trap. Some think it's a gift." Lyra inclined her head. "It is neither. It is a bridge. You can walk across or you can remain. Both are honorable." Celine stepped closer. "Do you wish to see what it means before you decide?" Elias looked at them, then nodded. "Yes, show me." They guided him into a round chamber at the heart of the ship. The walls dissolved into a view of the stars. In the center of the floor, a crystal disk rose slowly, glowing with faint green light. "This is the path mirror," Lyra said. "It lets you glimpse the future our bond could create." Elias stepped onto the disk. A hum filled the air, and suddenly images bloomed around him. Humans and aliens working side by side, cities on distant moons, ships built together, gardens grown under twin suns. He saw children of both kinds learning each other's languages. He saw explorers traveling deeper into the unknown. "This is not a promise," Celine said softly. "It is a possibility. The bond is not magic. It is simply trust made formal." The images faded. Elias stood still, breathing slowly. "And if I refuse?" Lyra spoke gently. "Then your people and our people will still have trade, respect, and memory. But the bridge will remain half-built." They left the chamber and returned to the ship's main hall. Elias sat down on a curved bench, his head in his hands. Lyra and Celine gave him space, waiting. Finally he spoke. "When I first saw you on the ridge, you were lost and afraid. I didn't think about the future. I just thought about what was right in front of me. Two travelers who needed help. I'm still that person. I still believe in kindness first. But now the scale is bigger. The stakes are higher. Celine knelt in front of him. Kindness is still the center. All else grows from it. Lyra added. We will support whatever you decide. No shame, no anger. Elias looked at them both. In their eyes he saw no demand, no pressure, and only respect. That was the moment he understood. He stood up slowly. I want to do it. But it has to be not just about me. It has to include my people, too. This bond can't be my private choice. It must be our public step. Lyra bowed her head. Then let us do it together. Back in the colony, a large crowd gathered near the main hall. Word had spread that Elias was about to make an announcement. The twin moons were rising, casting soft silver light over the plain. Elias stepped onto the platform with Lyra and Selene beside him. The colony fell silent. My friends, he began, 22 years ago I gave food and water to two strangers. I didn't know who they were. I didn't know what they would become. But that simple act has led us to this moment. Today I have been asked to join our path with theirs. He paused, scanning the crowd. I know some of you are afraid. Change always brings fear. But I believe this is not the end of our freedom. This is the start of our future. These sisters have shown respect, patience, and truth. They have asked for partnership, not power. Lyra and Selene stood quietly, letting his words settle. I have decided, Elias said firmly. I will enter the twin bond, but this is not just about me. This is about all of us. Our colony will be the first bridge between humans and their people. We will build something new together. A murmur ran through the crowd. Surprise, hope, doubt, excitement. But Elias held his ground calm and steady. The following day, the ceremony began at dawn. The colonists gathered around the alien ship. The sisters had prepared a space on the plain, decorating it with silver stones and glowing threads of light that pulsed like quiet music. Elias walked forward, wearing a simple jacket. Lyra and Selene wore robes of pale gold, their faces serene. This is the bonding ground, Lyra said softly. Here we bring together the origin and the future. Selene raised a small crystal. It glowed softly in her hand. This is the memory stone. It will hold our promise. Elias placed his hand on the stone. It felt cool at first, then warm. A soft light rose between his fingers and theirs. The colonists gasped. Lyra spoke in a clear voice. From this day, the path of Elias Kane and the path of our people are joined. From this day, the gate between our worlds stays open. Selene added, from this day, humans and our kind share a future. The light grew brighter, then faded, leaving a faint mark on the stone. The ceremony was done. The colonists cheered quietly at first, then louder. Some still looked unsure, but many smiled. The sisters turned to Elias, their eyes shining. You are now our bridge, Lyra said. You are also still yourself, Selene said. Elias laughed softly. That's good to know. The sisters smiled back. Your people will travel farther now, Lyra said. Our ships will teach yours. Your gardens will feed ours. Together we will find what lies beyond the stars. That evening the colony held a feast on the plain. Long tables were set under the moons. Humans and aliens sat together for the first time, sharing food and stories. Children touched the sisters' glowing symbols with wonder. Engineers talked to alien builders. Farmers spoke with alien gardeners. Elias sat at the center, watching it all. He felt both humbled and proud. The decision he had made was no longer just his. It was alive in the faces around him. Lyra leaned close and said quietly, This is only the beginning. Selene added, Tomorrow we start to plan the first shared mission. Elias looked up at the stars. They no longer felt distant. They felt like a road opening wide. Late that night, when the tables were cleared and the guests drifted back to their quarters, Elias stayed on the plain with the sisters. The glowing threads of the ceremony still pulsed faintly in the dirt. He asked them, Why does your bond involve marriage? Lyra smiled. For us, marriage means more than romance. It means a life pledge to care, protect, and honor. We choose it as a symbol of our deepest alliance. Selene said softly, We know human marriage is different. We do not wish to erase your ways. We only wish to share a promise of equal depth. Elias nodded. I think I understand. This is bigger than any word. It's a bridge. They stood together under the moons, three figures on the plain. The past behind them and the future ahead. The sun rose slowly over Zerath 5, casting a golden glow on the colony's buildings and the alien ship beside them. The air was cool and clean, and a sense of quiet excitement filled the settlement. It had been 3 days since the ceremony of the twin bond. Humans and aliens now walked side by side without fear. Something had changed in the hearts of everyone. Elias Kane stood on the balcony of the colony's control center, looking out over the plain. He could see children running near the glowing stones from the ceremony, laughing as they traced patterns in the dust. The alien sisters Lyra and Selene walked among the colonists, talking to engineers, healers, and farmers. Their robes no longer made people step back. Instead, they drew smiles and curious questions. Elias felt a quiet pride. He had not known what the twin bond would bring, but already he could see bridges forming. Inside the ship, Lyra and Selene worked with a group of human scientists. They projected star maps into the air, marking new routes and potential destinations. "We believe this region may hold water-rich moons," Lyra explained, pointing to a glowing cluster. "They are far, but with our engines and your supply skills, we can reach them."